That's a dramatic intro.
Yeah, it was, man, that's intense.
It's intense. We need to fix it because we don't have clarity anymore. I need to fix that.
Good
Yeah,
point.
no
Good
longer
catch.
clarity. It is the BAM weather platform. But hey, guys, good evening. We'll let some folks stream in, dial in, tune in, whatever the case may be. Share. We ask that you share it with a friend. Um, and let folks know you're watching. We're gonna kind of dive in tonight to a pretty detailed, um, kind of breakdown, more of an educational forecast, along with the outlook, of course, and the timing and the risks and everything. But really, what we wanted to do today or this evening was talk about some of the why and explain some of that to you all, so that maybe it would help. There's a lot of content on the internet about Wednesday, Matt. Like, I'm honestly, even for me, I'm overloaded with content for Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I mean, the ceiling's pretty high for Wednesday,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
We are certainly concerned about the ceiling, the max potential heading into Wednesday, but there's there's a lot of things that could screw up the forecast. So nothing's 100% set in stone.
Mhm.
Michael, you and I will talk about it, what we're seeing, why we think what we think, the
Mhm.
risk involved. But um, do we need to be paying attention? Yeah, 100%. Is Can we declare the end of the world on a Wednesday right now? No, we can't. But like I said, the ceiling's high. We need to watch very closely.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so, yeah, guys, again, if you've tuned in, please share and tell your friends, and again, if you're not following us, make sure you do that, and subscribe to the YouTube channel wherever you're watching from. Matt, a cool fact I wanted to share with everybody.
Okay.
The other night on our severe weather coverage, where the tornadoes went through, we had more viewers than every news media station here in the state of Indiana. I went through and looked at it all. I looked at all the viewership. I looked at the stats. You can see all that. It's public information. Regardless of not having as many followers as some of them, we had more people watching us.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I tell you what that tells me is, uh, we people tune in when poop hits the fan. You know.
That's to put
Um,
it kindly. Yeah.
yeah. So, how's my stream quality? I heard someone say I need to get better internet. I don't know. I don't know. That shouldn't be happening. Do I look okay? I sound okay?
You sound great, you
Okay.
know?
All right. Thanks. All right. Let's get into it, guys. I appreciate everyone joining tonight. I'll share my screen here. And what we're going to kind of first do is we'll go over the kind of the general timing and forecast. And Matt, I'm going to allow you to kind of start with that. I'll navigate the RRFS for you, and let you kind of talk through, um, you know, model choice. Yeah, I want to allow it. Hang on, I need to allow screen share. I'm not
Come
sure what
on.
that's all about. Come on now. Oh no, it wants me to quit and reopen. Um, I'll do that later. I don't. That's Gosh bless America, guys. Just when you think, um, let me. Gosh dang it, Matt, you're gonna have to screen share. I
Okay,
can't do it.
fair enough.
Um, I just installed Chrome on this machine, and what do you know? I'm a total loser.
Wow,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It is. It's abysmal. Ooh, look at that. There we go. Matt, take us through initially just thought process. Um, Take us through, just timing and generally what we're looking at, and then we'll get into kind of the nuts and bolts of everything.
Okay, so I'm going to begin getting into Wednesday morning, and you're gonna notice in the top right hand corner. I have times in Eastern. we've got a warm front, and that's what you're noting from Peoria up into northeastern Iowa. That's a warm front we have. We have a developing low pressure system out further into the plains. And Michael, you and I, we were talking earlier, some suggestions that this could be one of the strongest low pressures for this time of the year in recorded history. So it's an unusually strong low pressure system. Just because a low pressure system's this strong doesn't necessarily mean, again, doom and destruction. However, certainly, helps the severe threat when all said and done. Okay, 8
Mhm.
a.m. getting into Wednesday morning towards about the 1 p.m. time frame, and you can see these storms drifting from west to east along this warm front through the morning into the early afternoon. Now, anytime we're talking about storms along a warm front, it should already kind of scream the potential for some rotation. It's very common to have rotating storms along a warm front, and I'm concerned that already in the morning, if you're into northern Illinois, areas near Peoria, Danville, near Chicago, some of those areas, we can already have some rotating storms at this point. Now, with time heading into the afternoon, and certainly some of the exact timing as it does drift into Indiana will need to be refined as far as precise timing, but you'll see into the afternoon this is towards about the 4 and 5 p.m. time frame. Now, one thing we're noting, this is probably a little bit what I would say cooked as far as the coverage is concerned for some of these cells. I think especially along and north of I-70 in Indiana, and you can see again areas towards Chicago into northeastern Illinois, I think where the better threat for some of these storms and rotating storms will be. Now, one of the perhaps caveats to the forecast is if we get any type of rain or storms which precedes this into the morning. And if we're waking up getting into Wednesday morning across Indiana and there's just some messy rain showers and thunderstorms, that could really throw a wrench into the forecast as far as this is concerned. But let's watch into the afternoon, into the early evening hours of Wednesday, a warm front and some rotating storms that will be possible at this point. Now, a cold front at this rate is still stretched out to the west. In fact, you can see that little cell into northeastern Missouri already at this point. That's actually along a cold front extending off into northeastern Missouri. You'll see with time as I bring things out towards about the 7 and 8 p.m. time frame, storms really start to flare up along that cold front that is more situated off to the west. And you can see this low that it has here into western Indiana at this rate. So we have multiple rounds into Indiana. We've got the warm front storms and then eventually the cold front as it starts to seep in from northwest to southeast through the evening hours of Wednesday. Both the warm front storms and these cold front storms extending to the west do hold that potential for some rotating storms. And we could even see that the threat of tornadoes. In addition to that, there does exist the risk of large to very large hail and some strong wind gusts that could be 60 plus miles per hour. I would not be shocked if we can get some 70 to 80 mile per hour just straight winds out of this system as well. As I continue to bring things out through the evening, this is 8 p.m. towards about the 11 p.m. time frame heading into Wednesday evening. The cold front continues to march off to the east southeast with time. Again, still that severe weather threat existing from, you can see at this rate near Indianapolis, near Richmond, Indiana, just east into the across the Ohio border, stretching west into southern Illinois. And with time, as we head into the early morning hours of Thursday, the front starts to seep further to the south and to the east, more situated along the Ohio River, south of I-70 into Ohio. Still some strong to severe storms at this rate. But I do think the overall severity intensity will start to be a little bit on the decrease at this point and continues to drift southeast with time heading into Thursday morning. You can see towards about 8 a.m. It's more situated into southeastern Kentucky at this point. Now, one of the more alarming things, and we're gonna look at some soundings together, is the overall profile of the atmosphere. And so I'm going to bring up an atmospheric sounding.
Yeah.
This is around 4 p.m.
Hey, Matt,
in
real quick, can you
yeah.
answer why we chose to display 12Z versus 18Z? What's some of just a little bit of the thinking behind that? So, for those of you that don't know, this model runs at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. And we have chosen the 7 a.m. run from this morning. Some folks are asking that. Why did we do that?
That's a great question. So for starters, for some of those who may be more privy to the forecast models here, the same model, just a later forecast run. Here's 18Z at the same time, 4 p.m. And you'll notice the model we liked was further to the south. So let's just take the new run for what it is, and we're gonna dig into a little bit more details with this new run. I'm going to show us first the low level jet as we get to about the 4 p.m. time frame. And you could see when I talk about the low level jet, which we're looking at right now, again 4 p.m. Eastern, these are strong winds about 5,000 feet above the surface. And you could see pretty strong winds, about 45 knots. That'd be about 50 miles per hour for our winds at this level. And typically with these low level jets, and really any type of jet streaks in general, we can view this in quadrants. And so this region right into here would be the right entrance region of this low level jet. This typically has an area of increased upward motion when we're in this proximity, this quadrant of this low level jet. Now notice I'm going to go back to the sim on this particular model, and you'll notice, well, it's really got a lack of storms in that right entrance region, which is very clearly there, right? And so that has me lead to a model that shows something further south that's more correlated to that right entrance region of the low level jet. And for instance, we can look at some other things as well. I'm just going to show us the European model, and we're going to look at the upper level heights, the upper level uh, vorticity, or the upper level energy. And you can see, even by the time I bring things out, getting into the early afternoon, look where it has its upward motion. It's pretty far south into the afternoon. And so you combine this wave, this upper level energy into the afternoon, which is further south, the right entrance region of that low level jet. It does just have me believe that we can see more storms a little bit further south than what some of the newer data has. And we've seen this multiple times through really the summer so far.
Yeah.
Just because it's a newer model does not make it more accurate. In fact, in many cases, the newer models that come in can struggle a little bit more versus some of the older data. Okay.
Matt,
And so
show them the 18Z REFS, the 850 winds, because I want to illustrate how the ensemble of the model we're talking about is still further south with those 850 winds to begin with, which to me tells me that you know I want to circle a couple areas here. If you go forward,
yeah, tell me when to stop.
go to just right. Go one more.
Okay.
Right there. So we have two regions of interest here. We have the right rear entry and the left front exit, right? That left front exit is probably around Fort Wayne. In this instance, that right rear entry is down further across, southern Indiana where Matt is drawing. So air is coming in, it's rushing in there, it's exiting that region of the jet. Those are where the best lift regions are going to lie for convection and precipitation development. And in these instances, the 18Z run of the RRFS was way north with that 850 jet. It was in Michigan. This lines up much more with the 12Z run, which again, adds confidence to our choice, our selection of that 12Z data. Now, another way to look at this is we have this gives us the ability, I guess, to really know where to look, if you will, for some of the stronger potential, focal points of where these storms can develop. Matt, if you'll go to the probabilities tab of this model, and by the way, this is available on Synoptic, but go to probabilities and go down and go to just the probabilities of the helicity values over 75 right there. Go up just a little bit. A little bit higher there, right
This
there.
way.
Yeah, and you can kind of see where the model has, indications of some higher probabilities of some stronger updrafts with this storm as you go throughout the evening, which again is an indication that it's those probabilities, those colors that you see are more closely set up with that low level jet. So
Mhm.
a 65% probability of updraft helicity being greater than 75 that's high. But it agrees with the south option that I believe. Matt, go further than 9. Go beyond 9. I just think that we're looking at an area a little bit further to the south than what that 18Z run was. So going back to if you go back to that 12Z RRFS and get off the ensemble there, something I wanted to point out is, go to the dew point temperatures. You're real close there, Marty. And then just give us a filter of like 66 or greater dew points. So what we can do is we can say, okay, where's the dew points? If we've got the right rear entry region of the jet and we have high dew points and instability building in, again, those further north solutions to me don't make as much sense.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too, Michael, of the further north you get, you're gonna get at this point, you're gonna get a little bit further removed from the instability. And I think most notably where we're gonna see probably the most intense storms, obviously one where the dew points and instability is a little bit higher, but especially on where that gradient exists of the instability and of the dew points. And the higher the dew points, typically the higher the instability you can get. But notice at this point, this is around 6 p.m. Look where the edge of those values are. It's Indianapolis to Peoria, right? It's not all the way up and at this rate Chicago to say Fort Wayne, where that 18Z had it, the southern edge of the storms, right? So it's another factor which has us believe that again the 12Z RFS being a little bit further south has a little bit more merit than that 18Z, which is further to the north.
Someone said last week's storm that we mentioned that the model showed Chicago as the epicenter, but we had said that it could be south of that. Is that the case here too? I think that if there's early morning rain and convection and storms in the morning, the further north you go, it will hinder or limit the severe risk. Matt, why don't you turn on the SPC day 3 just so they can see that right now, and give us an idea of the risk level the SPC is advertising currently on the probability, the day 3 probability.
Let me turn this off.
And so this is, at this rate, this would be, if we roll this forward into a day 1 outlook, would be in a high end moderate risk for severe weather. Our team is a little north of this, just a little bit, but generally this is, relatively speaking, the area that we are concerned with as well. And you can see what's interesting in the discussion this morning from the Storm Prediction Center. They too also favored the 12Z RRFS. So
Yeah,
when you have multiple sources or forecasters looking at the same thing, and you get some consensus there, that increases confidence in that as well. And for those of you that are wondering, RRFS, what in the world is that? It's just a rapid refresh forecast system or something. It's just a rapid refresh model. That's all it stands for. It's just an acronym. So
keep in mind too, with as far as high res models are concerned, we're kind of on the edge of the bigger high res model suite at this point. So there's a lot of the high res that doesn't even go out into fully on Wednesday that we need to. There are some RFSs included in that. By the time we get into tomorrow, we'll have a full suite of modeling, high res modeling that gets into the Wednesday timeframe as well. So something to keep in mind.
yeah, another solution we can look at, Matt, if you wanted to, you could pull up the pivotal outcome, the NSSL impasse you were looking at. Was that the 12Z run today?
It was.
Yeah. So this is another solution that we thought had somewhat, possibly some merit with it. And again, we're primarily talking about Wednesday right now. All right. We're not talking about Tuesday, which, by the way, there is a threat of some strong storms tomorrow too. But we're really talking about this. This is Wednesday at noon to 1 o'clock. We see this cluster of rain and storms kind of moving west to east, similar to the RRFS.
Yeah,
So kind of
very
taking
similar.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then heading into the afternoon, this would be the middle part of the afternoon.
Yep.
Again, I would argue still at this point pretty darn similar
Yep.
at this rate. The only thing it does is as we get into late into the afternoon to the evening, it's pretty far south with
Mhm.
some of these storms that linger along I-70. But for all intents and purposes, very similar to the RFS.
And Matt, I think that's because the morning wave went north of 70 on this model. So
Yeah.
it's the instability is eaten up and it's shifted south. And it makes sense, from a logical standpoint. A lot of forecasting when it comes to building a forecast as a meteorologist, a lot of this comes down to being able to apply real life scenarios and experiences into that outcome. A lot of it goes above and beyond just what's printed on a weather model. It's, hey, I've seen this before. We know how this stuff works, and it helps us to select which models to show. And I will tell you, this particular solution would offer up a very, very busy night Wednesday with tornadoes, very large hail, and very strong damaging winds. All modes of severe weather would be on the table here for this.
Yeah, this would be nasty.
Mhm.
In fact, we can look at the rotation tracks on this particular model. It's a bit alarming, but
Yeah, the run max there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's several long track supercell thunderstorms suggested in there. Um, you know, these long streaks of purples and magentas that you see, those are just very strong updrafts that have hail, wind, and tornado potential that go a long distance. Again, very similar to the 12Z RRFS or the 7 a.m. rapid refresh model that if we want to call it something that's not all fancy, but the idea again is, as forecasters, what we're trying to do is select solutions that make sense, that with what we know to be true in certain setups like this. Very similar, Matt. I mean, those are very similar outcomes.
yeah, the RFS, the 12Z RFS that we showed that we prefer, it's a smidge further north with some of these tracks, but it too is suggestive of these long tracked areas of rotation and unfortunately strong rotation as well with these.
Matt, what I'd
So
like to do real quick is just discuss a couple. I want to talk about real quick just bust potential. Do you have our map that Brett made? Did you pull that in by chance?
let me
While I'm talking, you can pull it up. But when you talk about these events that have high ceilings or potentially the ability for them to be very, very significant and dramatic and somewhat devastating, you always want to talk about the potential fails that can happen, because these types of events, we're not guaranteeing an outbreak of tornadoes, but what we are doing is what we are talking about is if the morning convection lingers, if it's cloudy and rainy all day and it is just, we're not able to get heat and sunshine, and the majority of the area has just morning stuff lingering, the ceiling for this event to be this dramatic will go down dramatically, and it'll shift probably further south to where there wasn't clouds and rain. Now, some of our more trusted data that we have, like our European weather model, and some of these cams that are getting into within range, suggest that there won't be a morning wave until 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which would be plenty of time, by the way, for June standards for the instability to build. We wouldn't have that issue by 2 o'clock in the afternoon if you look into June standards. So the big question will be: do we have sunshine and high humidity and moisture in the air at noon on Wednesday, or do we have clouds and rain? And that if we have sunshine and high moisture content, then we want to be worried. A genuine worry for this area right here, where it is likely that there could be widespread coverage of 70+ mile per hour winds, 2-inch hail, and a few strong tornadoes. And even in the likely area, if all things go as planned, then it would be a dangerous evening. There's no question about that. That some of the model data suggesting very strong tornadoes being possible out of this. So that's the big question we're always going to be monitoring and watching for: is sunshine, cloud cover, and rain in the morning prior to the setup as well.
Michael, I would say, just looking at some of the latest data, though, in terms of, say, Indiana, I can't. It's hard to find a model that has any type of AM rain or convection in terms of Indiana. Different story for Northern Illinois, where there's a lot of the newest data has that area of rain that we showed moving into the morning. But for Indiana, it seems like it's moving in, getting into the afternoon, right?
Yep, I agree. I want to
That's been a
address
trend.
this real quick, Matt. This is, I think, in the educational standpoint, and Tommy, this is in no way, shape, or form picking on you by any means. But I want to address this because this type of question is not a possibility to answer. We don't have right now at this distance. There's no way. It doesn't matter what model, what meteorologist, what station, what app. It doesn't matter. There's no way that someone can say how strong a tornado is going to be and can be, in 40 hours. A lot of people think that this is possible. They think they can ask for weather in their backyard, in their city. And you can't do that until this stuff is on radar. And even then, guessing intensity levels of tornadoes is damn near impossible. I mean, honestly, it's anyone that tells you that you can, or any app that's advocating for this type of stuff, they're selling you a bucket of hogwash. It's not a real thing. And so I just want to make sure folks understand that it's not possible to get that specific, especially this far out.
No, I'm with you, Michael. I guess one thing I would say to that question is the ceiling's high. Like I started out the video, a strong tornado will be possible, but is a strong tornado would be anything, in my opinion, EF3 or higher, right? Is it an EF4? Is it EF2? I don't know. There's no way to know for sure. But the ceiling's high. That's all I'm going to say as far as intensity is concerned.
Matt, there's a question here from another Matt that says, if it sells at 1 to 2 p in central Indiana, will that help cut down the next wave later in the evening? My initial gut on that is if it's a couple cells and there's plenty of dry time in between the waves, with the low-level jet firing up, I don't think it'll be enough to hinder the severe threat. There's too many dynamical drivers at play.
Especially if the early afternoon storms are with a warm front, right? And let's assume these storms are kind of moving east northeast through the afternoon. As those storms move east northeast through the afternoon, instability builds back in behind those storms with a big cold front, a strong cold front in behind. Yeah, I'm with you. With how strong the low level jet is, I think any moisture and instability can quickly rebuild on the southwest side of those storms. And additionally, Michael, maybe another thing that there's no way to know for sure at this distance, storms in the afternoon can leave down little boundaries. And so these little boundaries from early storms can be focal points for storms later into the evening that could be even more intense. But again, forecasting Will that happen? Where that'll happen is impossible at this distance, but it is something we would need to watch closely with that as well. So I'm with you. I don't think I don't think it completely shuts down the severe threat. Now,
And
if it's a big wall of rain and storms, that could be an issue. Yeah, what's up, Michael?
well, the 18Z NAM3 is in, and it honestly, it kind of illustrates what we're talking about. It's got the first wave, but there's time to recover in between. And that second wave, it does go a little further south because of the first wave, but it goes right over kind of central Indiana, and fires up a string of supercells along that squall line there that forms. Go to the 18Z NAM3, Matt. You're
Oh,
on the
I was
call.
on the 12Z.
Yeah.
My bad. My bad. My bad. My
Um,
bad.
so that initial wave would come through, and there's plenty of rotating air with that along the warm front. That's going to have the potential to produce severe weather and tornadoes with the first wave. The second wave, as we recover, that low deepens. You can see what it tries to do over central Indiana and Illinois, which is more in line with the day 3 SPC outlook right now, a little bit further south. And,
Yeah.
and if we have that early morning convection, that gives merit to this. I'd be curious, Matt, where does it have the 850 jet on this run?
Let's take a look. So this is at 8 p.m. You can see from southern Illinois up into northern Indiana. It looks a little bit more extensive than the RFS model we looked at. It's a little bit more
Yeah, and
vertically long.
I agree, and I wonder if you agree. I think this particular model has tendency to cook this parameter.
I was about ready to say that, Michael.
Yeah.
This model has a tendency to go crazy with the low-level jet.
Yeah.
Although Miles in good agreement about it going crazy, but
Yeah.
this is maybe a little bit cooked, if I
Yeah.
had to guess. So
Do me a favor, Matt, on north of say north central Illinois and Indiana. I think that wave, guys, is a 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. threat. Let's just say that. Let's just say 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Circle north central Illinois and north central Indiana, Matt. Just circle it.
okay.
And just let's say wave 1 or round 1 is going to come to the north of I-70, and it's going to come in this area here. Okay. Generally, a lot of people are asking about timing. Generally 11 to 3. Let's just call it that. We're spitballing. We're 48 hours out. We got some time. The timing's going to change. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, the timing's going to change. No way around it. Wave 2, Matt, let's change it to red and bring it a little south, a little east, a little bit. Probably more, a little bit further. Let's go below the times there. Yeah. So probably like a 5 to 10 p.m. window, right? Of storms, or maybe a 6 to 10 p.m. window. I don't know. But the second wave will fire along the front and come into this area roughly. Don't take these areas verbatim. Where this area, the second wave in the 6 to 10 or 5 to 10 window, rough times would produce more of a significant severe weather risk. Okay. So again, I think that here, let me change it like this. Sorry, guys. I think that the idea is that first wave coming through can shift the second threat that way a little bit. And again, if Matt, if you reset your screen and show the SPC day 3 probabilities, that's what it's indicating, and so can't dismiss that. It's got that in general. It's got that general idea with those most intense areas there, if you will.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What any Matt, why don't you take just a little gander into the world of a skew T and tell people a little bit more technical to that? There's so many meteorologists or social media influencers that post maps and data. a lot of these people wouldn't have a clue how to read a SQT or a sounding with actual knowledge behind it and to know how to dissect these. This is the nuts and bolts of a severe weather setup. And
Delicious.
there's not very many people as good as Matt that's going to be able to help you understand some of this stuff. So Matt, take us through this.
Yeah, so this is 4 p.m. somewhere around Central Indy, and we're looking at a sounding of a model sounding, a forecast sounding. So we're just the condition of the atmosphere uh, into the middle of the afternoon. The red lines are our temperature line. The blue line to the left is our dew point line, and you can see we're extending up into the atmosphere with height. And then this chart to the right is something called a hodograph, and what it's doing is it's plotting essentially the wind shear. It's the wind speed and direction with height. And one thing you're going to notice that sticks out like a sore thumb is especially this hodograph. And notice this starts to hook, right? It's the purples are kind of in the top left part of the circle, then it starts to go quickly to the right. And what it's showing is a change of wind speed and direction with height. And so anytime we see these hooking photographs, it's a sign for a meteorologist that these storms can have rotation. And this is a pretty notable photograph at this point into the middle part of the afternoon that we're already dealing with. Now we shift our focus to some of these numbers and values into the bottom left-hand corner, and you're going to notice one, the shear, and you can see this part right here, surface to 1 kilometer. We've got this value called SRH, storm relative helicity, and shear at 27. Both of these values, 375 and 27 for our surface to 1 kilometer, are outrageous numbers, Michael. Into the middle part of the afternoon, signifying there can be not only rotation, but rotation rooted in the very low levels of the atmosphere. And so all signs at this point are hinting at some pretty strong rotational characteristics of storms getting into the middle part of the afternoon. Now, on this particular sounding, Michael, what may be slightly a bit of a detriment is Cape's not very high. I know that I probably clicked on a bad spot. If I clicked further south, the Cape values would be a little bit more impressive. When I say Cape, it stands for convective available potential energy. It's essentially just storm fuel. The higher the number, the more storm fuel we have available. It's not zero in this case, and I don't think it'll take much in this particular case, but in this particular sounding, that may be a little bit of a wrench, so to speak. One thing I want to note as well is if we look on the far right-hand corner, you can see the wind direction with height. And notice at this point, we have some southeast winds into the middle part of the afternoon. And so we have these storms, they form on the radar, and then we see these southeast winds feeding into the storm. And it means that the storms are gonna have a really good access to inflow into these storms. And anytime, especially into the Ohio Valley, we see southeast winds out ahead of storms, it's usually a pretty good environment to pick up rotation. Again, another sign of picking up rotational characteristics in some of these storms. I'm actually going to bring this out a little bit forward. I want to discuss as we get later into the evening, because as we head deeper into the evening, our low level jet increases, and I do just want to look at a sounding at this point. And the problem is these photographs become pretty enlarged. When I say enlarged, versus the previous sounding, the wind speed with height especially increases, and we still have this hooking nature of the photograph. So this is around 8 p.m. again, somewhere into kind of north central Indiana. Cape on this particular sounding, again, like the last sounding, isn't particularly too impressive, but the surface to 1 kilometer SRH, storm relative helicity, and the surface to 1 kilometer shear of 47 are outrageous numbers at this point for low level rotation. Combine that with the hodograph, the strong winds aloft. This is why we're concerned for that potential for rotating storms on these soundings. The rotation is showing up very clearly in these soundings. And at this point, especially as we head into the evening, we're going to have again, I mentioned the stronger winds aloft, helping the upward motion in the atmosphere, but we're having approaching cold front as well. That's going to be another forcing mechanism, another mechanism that literally forces the air to go upwards at this point. So I don't think at this rate, as we get into Wednesday evening, we don't have a problem of is there upward motion or not, right? Because that is certainly going to be there. Uh, Combine that with the rotation, it's pretty significant, Michael. I mean, really,
Yep.
those values are wild.
Yeah.
Um,
Matt,
it's off the charts.
I sent an image. If you could drag it into your desktop, I sent it through text.
Yeah.
Trying to really simplify and illustrate this. If current thinking, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, some of the current thoughts were to come to fruition. The first wave's timing and the second wave's timing, the second wave being highlighted in the red circle that Matt's going to show in just a second, would have the potential to have the basically a boundary that would sag and hang around for redevelopment, and the ability for strong tornadoes and large hail and damaging winds to develop along that second wave with the second timing here that Matt's going to show you here in just a second. Next time we'll be able to share my screen, which will be cool. You know, wouldn't that be
That'd be
cool if we
nice.
could just get it figured out, Matt?
It would.
You know, but that's kind of my thinking. It's like, okay, a morning wave rolls through 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You know, there's probably some warnings out of it. There's probably some severe weather out of it.
Mhm.
The South stays drier longer, maybe some sunshine longer,
Yep.
and there's a boundary from the morning wave, and there's a focal point for redevelopment south. And I think that red area right now is where I have the most concern for tornadoes and damaging winds and hail here Wednesday. And I think the 18Z NAM highlights that nicely on everything. So we just wanted to kind of come in and give you some of the why and the thought processes behind everything. I certainly think this has potential to be a very memorable severe weather event if things go the way that they could go.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to kind of play this one by ear and see and just monitor as we get closer to that. So with that said, I think we can take a few questions before we wrap this up and try to answer a few of them for you if you guys have any. And just know that 48 hours out, a lot of this is up for grabs. It's not a set in stone. No, no questions forecast. There's some things we still have to iron out as we get closer. So KWX says, looks like most of this will be north of Bloomington. I mean, I'm not confident enough to say that right now, personally. I'm going to say it right now. That's not something I would put my name on for the time being.
I mean, here's midnight in Bloomington. Here's the front.
Yeah.
Moving across the area at that time. So I think a lot of the activity prior to it probably is north of Bloomington, but we head into Wednesday overnight, early Thursday morning. I would not call it north of Bloomington. I want to say Bloomington gets a pass in this instance.
Matt, what can we expect for central Ohio? Is there a little bit of a threat there if you migrate east? Is it still got some Ohio impacts there?
Sure. I mean, I think there's going to be rain and storms. I guess where are you at in central Ohio exactly? I think the further east, especially east of Columbus, the risk decreases. I would argue, as far as the tornadic threat, probably a little bit dramatically. But if you're in west central Ohio, I still think you have a risk for that of tornadoes. In fact, if I bring up our outlook, it kind of shows this nicely, right? You can see much of the eastern half of Ohio in our low end. You get to the western half, it's in the possible area, and I still think there's still a risk of tornadoes, even towards near Columbus and especially west towards Dayton. So again, I don't know where you're at in central Ohio exactly. There is severe threat that can extend east, and east central Ohio just does not look as significant as folks further to the west.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was looking to see if we had any new StormNet data in. That's been kind of fun to watch. But what else do we have? How bad if I get clear to be able to backdate the previous storms? Well, it's no longer called Clarity anymore. It's the BAM weather platform. But I'm not sure what you mean by backdate to previous storms. Maybe if you're talking about wanting like live streams from previous storms, we can certainly send you those. But yeah, a lot of guys asking, a lot of comments in here about moderate risk stuff. And yeah, I mean, listen, the risk stuff is always interesting, regardless of whatever risk is put out. We're going to get weather. The weather doesn't follow the risk maps. It just doesn't. A lot of folks get hung up on this. Yeah, I mean, could they issue a day 2 moderate? Yeah, they could. I don't know. They might not. I have no idea how to know what they're going to do over there at the storm prediction. And honestly, I just don't really care, because we're gonna put our forecast out, and they're gonna put theirs out, and
Sure.
a little too much hype and hoopla and sensationalism goes around these SPC forecasts. It's not. The weather doesn't follow the maps.
We saw that at the last one, Michael.
Yeah.
Certainly didn't follow the map.
No, not at all. And that's one thing I want to keep you guys. One thing I want to make sure you guys understand is there's a lot of information, a lot of accounts out there right now posting maps in red and purple colors, and it is. I mean, even for me, when I'm sitting down and I get on my phone and I start looking, I'm like, good night. I mean, there's a model and a forecast on every news feed and every platform, every other post. And so I just want to caution you, with that stuff. I can tell you 98% of these people are posting the most intense, dramatic, colorful, batten down the hatches outcome they can. And they're going to use all the wording possible to get you to click on it and watch them. And you just got to be careful with that. It's, it's just information overload. This is a good comment. With last Thursday's storms, how many tornado warnings did BAM issue before the NWS saving people? 22. We issued, was it 22, Matt?
22.
We issued 22 tornado warnings before the National Weather Service. We beat them every time. Not a knock on them. It's not a knock. It's not a bad. I'm not talking bad about them. We function differently with a different set of principles and policies and the way we function. So we just our private warnings that go through the BAM weather application are just they're just better. I don't know.
Yeah, Jake, if you're watching,
yeah,
great work
Jake,
last Thursday.
Yeah, one of our meteorologists, Jacob Wagner, just absolutely killed it. I mean, the guy was just on it, nailing it. He's going to be our warning meteorologist again Wednesday night. So you're going to get him. You're going to get him there to keep everybody safe. So if you want those location specific alerts that come out quick to your device, you will want the BAM weather platform. Let's see. How about Michigan? Thank you, kid. Worked at the zoo for the summer. I was hoping to get her home. Yeah, I hope so, Laura. Just going over comments here. Be aware and be prepared. Yeah. Be aware, be prepared for sure. That's all we're trying to do tonight. This is just the why behind the maps that we've colored, that we've painted. That's it. We will absolutely be live Wednesday.
Yeah,
Tammy.
100%.
Yeah.
Could be a long one for us, Michael.
What's that?
Could be a long one for us. We'll probably be live for quite a while.
Yeah, we were live for 4.5 hours the other night. I wouldn't be shocked if this is a 5 to 6 hour live stream Wednesday. I brought home a case of energy drinks from the office. Probably going to have a couple of them during that. So, thank you guys. Appreciate all the kind words there.
Yep. Does RRFS overdo coverage? Yeah, it can, and I suspect the one we showed probably is a little overdone, Colton. At least at the first round.
Someone said, do any radio stations use BAM? I don't know. I don't work with them or listen. I don't know the last time I turned my radio on, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them do, but I'm not sure.
We're not, none of us Mets are doing any hits or anything like that on a radio station. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that.
Josh, I don't think there were very many. I don't know if you know how many tornadoes were observed the other night, but there was a lot. So I don't know that we had a lot of missed tornadoes. And by the way, I don't know why you would want to not issue a tornado warning if there's indications of radar of a tornado. To me, it just seems counterintuitive. That doesn't make any sense to me. So maybe just different beliefs.
Bust potential, asked Ryan Collins. I don't know, bust potential further north.
Yep.
Because of the storms.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if there's a lot of rain and clouds and just overall limiting the instability, then yeah, there's going to be a bust potential for sure. So,
yep.
Well, Matt, I think we've done the deal tonight.
Yeah,
we will be live again tomorrow for sure. I would say we'll probably do a morning live, depending on how everything goes. Maybe around the 8 or 9 a.m. time frame. We'll keep you posted on it, and we'll just kind of see what overnight data brings and what we're seeing in the morning, and keep you all posted on what's coming. You got any closing remarks, Matt?
No, Michael. I just let's just keep an eye on this one.
Yep. Keep an eye out. Yep. Share it with a friend. If you haven't picked up the BAM weather app, there's a link in here. You can check it out. We'd appreciate you all, and we'll talk to you guys